We are still on This Morning on ITV, your flagship program, and cruising on the wing of nationalism and you. Broadcasting live from Pape Hill in Abuja here is independent television, ITV. Certainly, we are the best. And I am your host, Ebenezer Oyetake, to take a deeper look at the question of increase in the terror attack. What are the motivations and what are the prospects of ending it? With me to look at this issue is no other person than Dr. Abdul-Jalil Tafawa Balewa. He qualified as an elder statesman, a medical doctor. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
And you are welcome to our studio.
Thank you for having me.
And I come in the manner and characteristic of this program, nationalism and you.
It is my duty to make sure that this country continues to grow in dignity for subsequent generations.
Thank you very much, sir. Yes, increase in terror attack. Why is it that as we are raising towards electoral year, it appears that those increase east, south, west, and north seems to be, the attack seems to be coming more frequent?
Every young child that's been introduced to some form of science knows that nothing happens in a vacuum. For the last few years, maybe about a decade and a half, we've been brewing this broth of nastiness and hatred and distrust amongst ourselves. And all that it's giving birth to is what we're seeing now.
What are the basic motivations for all of this act of criminality, banditry that we are experiencing that is making it so seemingly unabating?
Created poverty. You know, there's poverty. There will always be poverty in any environment, any animal environment, even amongst ants. However, ours is a created poverty in that you have legislators that earn such ridiculous amounts of money in an environment and a country where we make almost nothing. They make a heck of a lot more money than fully industrialized environment. That is one. Secondly, there is television, there is radio. So people get to know more about what is happening in our environment, in our country, and in other parts of the world. And they say to themselves, why us? For an instance, in a village, you can have a whole band of poor people, but one of the people, may have, one of the families may have somebody that's working in the capital or working in Abuja. Obviously, no matter how meager the salaries are or what they're earning, to them it's still a heck of a lot more than they're not earning in the village. And now, you get neighbors tattling on one another. So much so that if one of them is kidnapped, then that person in the capital city or in Abuja will have to run around to be able to earn money. The most ridiculous example is the MD of the Bank of Agriculture that happened recently. Why will a government that have been disturbing the citizenry for the last few days on their telephones, because they didn't have their NIN and the BVN or whatever joined together in their telephones. It's this same telephones that all these bandits and terrorists are using. And it is this same telephones that they're negotiating the ransom. How come our intelligence agencies have not been able to get these people? There's so much anger between the non-classes. I say non-classes because even the supposed middle classes in Nigeria are so poor now because of this banditry. Food is extremely expensive. Just to go from A to B is not only hazardous, you may never get there. You cannot drive because there are bandits on the road. You cannot take the train because there are bandits waiting for you. You cannot fly because there are bandits at the airport. Now, what type of terrorism can that be when so much fear is put into every single citizen, especially in the urban areas, that you cannot have any quality of life? What do we need to do?
You talked about the NIN.
Yes.
You talked about the NIN, the BVN, and the rest of it. And one has supposed that with all of those efforts of the government, it will be easier to track the criminals among us. And also, most of the booking for train these days, and even on air, they are done online, at which you are required to submit some of this, your data to them and the rest of it. How come that it is seeming as if the terrorists are making use of the government initiative to correct the system more against us than the government using it to track the terrorists?
This is very interesting. I love your question. It's not only brilliant, it's a question that every lawmaker, the people in the presidency, and anyone that really cares about our country should think about. One, if, for instance, you cannot buy any ticket on the train without having an internet, if somebody else is buying it for you, you know who it is. Now, the bandits immediately went to the first class cabin first, and they were taking people out. Even in the other cabins, they were still choosing who it is they wanted to kidnap or kill. Now, don't you think that there had been some intelligence way ahead of time? What has been done with the people that are booking those tickets? Our DSS houses some of the most intelligent people in Nigeria. Our army and police are reputed in the past to be one of the best in Africa, if not the best. All of a sudden, we just have everything so polluted and so downgraded, and Nigerian life is not worth much. Isn't there a rottening factor within, whereby the inversion now, I mean, this is guerrilla warfare, except that in guerrilla warfare, the guerrillas are usually fighting government to be able to change their way of life. These guerrillas are not saying that they're not going to be Nigerians. They're not saying that they're not going to follow the political patterns in Nigeria. They're just saying, okay, we want our piece of the cake by hook or by crook. Why did we get to that? Where, I mean, this is the best explanation. If George Orwell was alive, he will be so happy to look at Nigeria. This is Animal Farm, where some animals are, all animals are equal, but some are more equal than others.
Sir, taking a look at the fortresses of military, you can name them up to 15 in Kaduna of all places. Kaduna is having more military fortresses than any other states in the Federation. Why is it that it appears that the criminal element, the bandits and the terrorists, make a choice of Kaduna as their playground, and they seem to be comfortable there?
I don't think it will take an Einstein to tell what may be going on there. There was a time at the beginning of this regime where the governor of Kaduna said that you know, Nigeria can be made near impossible to rule when Jonathan was there. And it was detected at that time that there were so many foreign nationals that came from other places. However, it's a difference when you're in opposition. Then you can ginger the anger in people quite easily. But when you're right in the middle of the cyclone yourself, when you're in the ruling party, it's a totally different kettle of fish, whereby these people that were invited, supposedly invited from other parts of Africa, but not Nigeria, that came in, may not now have anything to do. I mean, these are never-do-wells from other places. Obviously, there will be never-do-wells here in Nigeria, except that now the opposition party has now become the ruling party, and they may not be getting the same type of ease of movement or ease of the quality of life. You remember what happened to the Sarasuka in Bauchi when all this started. I mean, a governor had like 2,100 essays when he first came in. They had cars. A lot of them were not literate, and that was how they were let go in a very short period of time. They became virulent because it was okay for them to oppress people and to kill them and to hack them initially, but all of a sudden they're not literate anymore, so they had to be let go. And it's the same sort of thing. We really need to look at our political system. We need to look at our politicians, our legislative politicians, gubernatorial, and even state assemblies. All of them may need to be sloughed off the political surface. We've got to be thinking of what brave leaders like Rawlings did in Ghana, because apart from that, I don't see any way forward in this, the most populated black country, the greatest black country in the world. But it has too many rotten parts.
Now, taking a look at the strength of our security forces, the military, the police, the DSS, and other paramilitary architecture, security architecture. About 2 days ago, some retired generals said we can wipe out this menace of banditry and terrorism under 6 months if we are serious. I will be asking you, do you agree with them? Then we have been watching. We thought those things are restricted to films. In Filipinos films, in Indian films, and the rest of it, you see a military general who occupies strategic position as a head of a unit in the military, yet he is trading in banditry and persecuting his country and pretending about it. Many Nigerians are saying that the way we are and the seeming helplessness of the nation in the face of these terror attacks and the frequencies at which those attacks are coming is suggestive that some members of the high commands of our security forces must have been compromised. Do you also agree with this?
There is absolutely no lie in what you just said. Our army have been revered in Ecomog, in Mali, in Niger, in India, in the Second World War, in the Congo. Our land army have been known to be semper optimum, always the best and nothing at all. DSS, as I told you earlier, have some of the best brains in Nigeria. NDLEA, if you look at the TV every day, they capture, they try to arrest so many people. So does the custom. Why then are these things happening? One, if your hand is not joined to your shoulder and the shoulder is not joined to the body, if there is no coordination, no network, nothing will happen, because you're just going to be working independently and not as a body. That is one. Yes, we can wipe these people out in less than 6 months, but we have to have leadership with the courage and balls to say, yes, this is what we need to do. One, we have drones. Why you will call some people in Nigeria and they will intentionally not pick your call. Instead of telling you, I don't want to talk to you, or I'll call you back, they just won't pick it. Why have a phone if you're not going to do that? Why have all these arms and all this intelligence within our armed forces and you're not going to use them? If we have drones that can, I mean, some of them can fly at such heights and they will be so noiseless, they can find where these bandits are. If there are locals helping the bandits, they belong to the same group of cancers like the bandits. If there is a cancer in any part of the body and it hasn't metastasized, that is, it has not taken your whole body over, you excise it. Those civilians may just have to go. By doing that, you see, even those that say when they get to heaven, there will be some maidens and things waiting for them. Everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. So if there are some decisive actions where enclaves are wiped out thoroughly and not methodically, I mean, they're wiped out brutally. And that is why I think only benevolent dictators will be able to do well in this new Nigeria, at least for some time, until we can create in the minds of the people the rationale why we need to be humane with one another. But for now, we need somebody that can stand up and look up and say, no, this country is not going to be dismantled. We need to do something seriously, and whoever stands in the way will lose his or her life. It's as simple as that.
Speaking recently, and one cannot be in doubt that he is in the know, being a governor and chief security of his state. We're talking about Kaduna State, that warehoused most of the military fortresses and things of that nature. El-Rufai said, we know them. We know the bandits. We speak with them on phone. We know where they are in the forest. We have drones, just like you have alluded. What is stopping? We have even gotten the federal government to declare them as a terrorist. Said no normal human beings stayed in the forest, more so because they are parading guns that are not licensed for them and things of that nature, that the military ought to sustainably go after them and wipe them out. Your take on this?
Well, I was trying to just push that question to the side earlier. I cannot imagine the chief security officer of a state saying that he knows where his state is being denigrated, and those people or where they live, the people that are denigrating the state and taking out his citizenry, and he does not do anything about it. If you're not for me, you are against me. If a governor, the chief executive of a state, is not capable of exercising his thorough order, I think he should resign. In most other parts of the world, it will be, I mean, he wouldn't even have to be asked to fall over a sword.
They will tell you they are not in that the governors are not in control of the arms and the
he may not be in control of the armed forces or,
yes,
or whoever, but if he knows where they are and he knows that they are denigrating his state and killing his citizens, he can pass that information to the armed forces. And if the armed forces now don't follow through, then just like what's happening in Ukraine now, where some of the generals trained by the Russians have been put aside because they don't think that they will be nationalistic enough, then we need to get rid of the generals that will not fulfill their oath to the country.
Sir, many Nigerians are also of the opinion that the security challenges we are contending with are product of democratic abuses based on political opportunism and expediencies. People take consideration for for electoral victory, and because of that, even when criminal elements that are being consistently used to gain electoral advantages are known to be criminal that are threats to peace and security, they look the other way. For example, we were in this country when a sitting governor was kidnapped, and the sitting governor that was kidnapped was parading the same immunity with the president on seat. But the president laughed about it. The kidnappers were ordinary Nigerian citizens, though billionaires or whatever you call it, billionaire talks and all that kind of a thing. They were not punished. They were not jailed. A constitutional order was kidnapped for more than 48 hours. Many people opine that we are so complacent, we are so licentious about our democracy that it is now wish hunting us by creating armies of unruly people. Do you agree with this?
I don't know if I agree totally with what you've said. My words would have been a lot stronger, because I don't think that we have a democracy. Look at what's going on now in the PDP. Look at what went on with the APC. They had consensus and they're having consensus, whatever. This tells you that we have a group of citizens in Nigeria that are the pigs in animal farm, and they have several squealers that speak for them, that just want to make sure that these rotten eggs continue to pollute our environment. And that's why they have the consensus. There's no consensus in democracy. Democracy is competitive. You will fight it out. But, of course, in a gentlemanly, very civilized way, you can campaign against one another. We cannot do that because neither party has any ideology. So they have nothing to campaign about. If they do, then the manifestos that they write before elections should be followed by the appointed members in the different ministries. The ministries themselves are bureaucracies, so they're supposed to be non-aligned. But the appointed people, like the ministers and so on, should be able to follow the manifestos that the party came in with. You cannot find that. Look at the type of things we have in Nigeria. You have a minister that in this government that used to oversee 3 ministries. We had it in the last government, but it was somebody that was extremely well exposed. Okonjo-Iweala. We've now given her to the world. The minister here in this government that has 3 ministries, 3 portfolios, is hardly underexposed. I mean, you cannot even use the word underexposed. What does he know? From Lagos to here, and that's it. And we continue to have this type of intellectual hooligans, rulers, and they keep rotating one another. You have a lot of democratic governors going around now trying to choose one person. Why don't you let your citizenry choose who they want to rule them? They will never do that because they want to continue to be covered. APC did the same, but APC is basically PDP with different colors.
So one thing we must take into consideration in all of this as a nation is that, just like you said, the most populated black nation on earth, the most dignified black nation on earth, and a nation that has helped to procure peace for every other nations at one time or the other on the table of international peacekeeping. We cannot afford to be helpless in front of these bandits, security challenges, and terrorism, because Africa is looking up to us as the giant of Africa. What are the drastic measures? Because a drastic situation deserves a drastic measure to address it. What are some of the drastic measures would you allude to that we can do differently in order that we can be more prospective in ending these security challenges?
You see, there are solutions, but one of them may have the DSS waiting for me before I get out of here. So I'm not going to be that drastic. A country that will supply the military, its army, with wooden guns to fight bandits who are using AK-49, a country that had denigrated
But the military always tell us that this particular administration of
Yes.
President Muhammadu Buhari have equipped the military much more than any other administration in the history of Nigeria.
I don't doubt that.
Okay.
I don't doubt that. But only recently, a unit soldier had been trained for quite some time. A lot of monies had been put into the education, into the training, into the housing, into feeding, to make him a very expensive unit. All of a sudden, you will have bandits go and kill 10 soldiers of this Federal Republic of Nigeria, and all we hear is just we don't hear anything from any of the leaders. There is no outrage. How then do you want other soldiers to want to beat their chest and get out there to say they're going to save this our country? How? What do you want to tell the police? What do you want to tell the customs? What do you want to tell all the other armed forces, when even soldiers that are supposed to take care of our territorial integrity are not protected from the bandits?
Now we're rounding up. Taking all of this into consideration, 2023 is coming. We need peace and security for people to be able to participate maximally in votings, so that we will not witness voting apartheid. What would you advise that we do as a nation?
Well, you see, voting has not really been given some strong thought. There are parts of Nigeria that live strictly on politics, and that is my part. The northern part of Nigeria lives on politics. Even those bandits or herdsmen and things like that have radios. They listen to the politics of Europe through BBC, through Deutsche Welle, of America through VOA, Nigeria, of course. In the southwest or west of the Niger is the most educated and most progressive part of Nigeria, so of course they understand politics, how to use it, because of their exposure and their understanding. In the eastern part of Nigeria, or east of the Niger, it is a lot more difficult because there is a lot of agitation that there should be rotation and things like that. And that has always been a mild earthquake under our politics. But one, they are more dispersed to other parts of Nigeria. They don't vote. They don't really understand politics. Like you said earlier, a lot of the people from the eastern part of Nigeria didn't even know that the states get monies from the federal government. That's what happened to Ngige, who was kidnapped at that time. And what's going on now with the IPOB, the same type of thing. So we need a homogeneous education in the languages of the land. And there's time to do that. I think it will help.
Thank you very much. One single word to the nation regarding the security challenge from you. Single advice, a statement.
You've got to be ready to take care of yourself.
Thank you very much. We've been talking to Dr. Abdul Jalil Tafawa Balewa. That name rings bell. And we've been discussing the security challenges. Peace and political stability is a prerequisite for national development, sustainable economic development, and even for the flourishing of our democracy. We call on all those that are concerned. We can defeat this terror. We can put all of these security challenges behind us. We can demonstrate to the nations of the world, even Africa particularly, that Nigeria, standing on her feet, we can help to defeat it also in other countries. By the aggressive nature, we defeat them at home. Let us go that direction. Until next week, Thursday, when we shall be returning to you on the platform of Nationalism and You, we say thank you for keeping a date with us, but don't change the channel, because on ITV, we have so much coming for you, still on ITV this morning.